Reggie Gold used to say, look, you've got a spectrum of chiropractors. You've got the rank mixer over here, and then you've got the guys so straight they can't even bend over here. And then Reggie says, I'm over here. And the needle on the average chiropractor is over here. If I could bring that needle just a little bit more that way, I've done some good. Okay, great. If you could bring a person along just a little bit to a closer understanding of objective truth, that's awesome. Or at least help them consider. Our brother back here brought up these questions about vertebral subluxation. I'm going to commend him for thinking and having that point of view because he's obviously been thinking about it. Then I'm going to challenge him. And one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to say, I see where you're coming from, I totally agree. Or you're going to say, I see where you're coming from, and I disagree, and here's why. You see, you can't just disagree without showing me the work. You've got to show me the work. Why? Because I want to get better. And if what you're saying makes logical sense, because in BJ's day, BJ didn't care if you made logical sense or not. Because in the end, the answer came down to because BJ said so. Even Michael Kale, because BJ said so. That's dogmatic. It's not going to work anymore. I'm not going to tell you something because Reggie said so, because Joe D'Onofrio said so. And I don't want you to say something because Mark Romano said so. No, man, I'm here to challenge you to think. I'm here to challenge you to be a better version of yourself, to use your logic and not rely on any authority. You can use me as a reference, that's fine. But I expect you to know your stuff. I expect fraternity to know their stuff. I expect it. So I'm only surprised when you don't. But I haven't been surprised. So, understanding that the chiropractor does not make the adjustment, vertebral subluxations are always bad, their adjustment is always good, and we better have an analysis that we can rely upon that identifies the presence of a vertebral subluxation, how the body's trying to adjust a vertebral subluxation, that gives us the information on our line of drive to make a very gentle force, that's a universal force, that the body can take and make into an innate force, so when an adjustment is made, and then we have the analysis that we can post-check and say, oh, vertebral subluxation has been adjusted, and this person is better because of it. Come back tomorrow. No matter how long they've been seeing you, you leave that wonderful engagement with, I'll see you tomorrow. The most important visit to a chiropractor is the next one. So you really want to keep them close together. There are chiropractors who charge by the visit. That's fine. We'll go into this in a little while. I don't charge by the visit. I charge by the month and the year. I see people long term. They're not case plans. They're simple. This is the fee. Come in every day for the rest of your life. Years ago, people would laugh at me. Years ago, 20, 30 years ago, when I would say, okay, come in every day for the rest of your life. Yeah, right. Now when I say it in a consultation, yeah, okay, that makes sense. People didn't change, I did. Certainty. Massive certainty. Massive tonality. I can remember one time when I was taking the Massachusetts State Board. I had been working in Mississippi for a DE chiropractor for a couple months before I took Massachusetts. And in that Massachusetts, they had tables like this that were stacked full back, and this was like physical diagnosis day. So the first table was, they handed you information about, this person comes in, whatever symptoms they presented themselves with. The next table was physical diagnosis. The third table was patient recommendations. And then the fourth table was actual technique. Wow, look at that, an actual chiropractic thing on the board. So I remember there was 400 people or so taking this test, and people were getting so nervous, and some people were crying, looking into an eye. And if you're looking into an eye with your ophthalmoscope, you can't see anything, so it's all bullshit. But because you're not dilating the pupil, right? And so, and I say, well, what's the arteries in the eye, and what's the veins, what blood vessels? I don't know, but it's superior, inferior nasal, or superior, inferior temporal. You just have to know, and if not, guess based on some structure you do know. It's not like. It's not too terribly hard. And I remember I was at this one station, and I looked over, and the guy was doing the tuning fork test, right? And so they asked him for the tuning fork, and this cat man, I remember, the guy says, okay, go ahead and test with the tuning fork, and if the sound goes to one ear, either you're deaf in the other ear or you have a blockage in this ear. So this guy takes the tuning fork and lifts up his hair and goes, boing, right? The whole place goes silent, right? We all look over, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me right now? And then he's gonna put it on somebody's head. So the guy, the chiropractor giving the test is over there, and he's trying not to laugh, and the guy is just doing it. The poor person who's being demonstrated on, right? And so after it all cleared out and everyone's trying to get back to focusing on their station, chiropractor goes, let me see that again. Right? There's the guy. Boing! It was that guy. Like, dude, that's freaking classic, right? So then I go to the station where they ask me, okay, after your assessment and everything else, how often do you want to see this person? It's like, oh, well, for the first 3 months, we want to see him 3 times a week. 3 times a week for 3 months? I'm like, yeah. And then after that, we'll 3, and we'll go down to 2, and then 1 time a week. At first, she was like, are you kidding me? Then she's like, okay. You know what I'm saying? So, I passed, so, yeah, confidence. That's what you're going to do it. I can see people every day for the rest of their life, and the thing is, you were asking earlier, will you always find a subluxation? I don't know until I check somebody. Nobody knows if they're subluxated until they go to a chiropractor, and you have a chiropractor objectively analyze your spine. Nobody knows if they need an adjustment until you go to a chiropractor. So have office hours, and more than likely, you're not going to work 7 days a week like me, and I'm telling you right now, you shouldn't. Work 3 days a week, work 4 days a week, fine, that's great. Just work at hours that are consistent and congruent in your community where people can get to you and see you. And see people a lot. How many people here would go and see a chiropractor every day if they could? Yeah. So how many people wouldn't? Okay, how many people here would go and see a chiropractor every day if they could? No? And you wouldn't? No, how come?
For me, I don't think it's necessary to go every day.
So, which is fine, why don't you think it's necessary?
Let's go back again, if we're talking to adapting, and the body's trying to adapt, and you're always trying to put a force into the body needs more to adapt. And if you go every day, then the body's not going to be left alone. So let the body some time to adapt to what's going on, and then check them. It's like going to the mechanic with a car and getting it fixed all the time. Well, let the car run for a few miles, and then see what's going on.
Does the car have an innate intelligence?
It's not, no.
So, really tough from that analogy. And by definition, has the body lost the ability to adapt to that vertebral subluxation?
If it's a vertebral subluxation, yes.
We're going to say that yes, it is, because I don't deal with anything else. So if a vertebral subluxation is present, does a vertebral subluxation always cause damage?
By definition, yes.
Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah,
Okay. So if the body has lost control of this vertebral subluxation and it's causing damage, and your body can't adapt to 100% while it's there, why would you keep it there? And you answer that to yourself. Me, I don't want it there. Starting with me. Now I can sell chiropractic day and day night, and I can close anybody who's closable. And that's only for one reason, because I'm sold on it. I understand the detrimental effects of a vertebral subluxation because I've been working with that exclusive entity for 30 years. I don't want to risk it. If I could see a chiropractor every single day, I would do it. Hooksy, if you were working with me again, I would find a way. I see a chiropractor 3 to 5 times a week. If you guys ain't in the clinic every day, I call you crazy, but that's me. Keep in mind, vertebral subluxation is my exclusive focus for 30 years. I'd be in that clinic every single day. I say to my clinic doc, look, meet me here this time every day. I'm coming in and getting checked. You cool? I'm cool? We're cool? Yes. Then I understand that right now you're focused on numbers and everything else, and that's important and necessary. It has to be more than that. I love money. I love money. And practice has to be way more than that. I see people I never got paid for. And they got the same quality as people who paid a lot of money for it. I used to go and see a guy, he served in World War II, go to his house because he couldn't get out. He was on oxygen, no telling what chemicals he was exposed to, fought over in Japan in some of the worst parts of the war. I was at his house.